Hey guys, in this video I want to share a concept with you. This is a really useful way to view progress, and if you don't understand this then you're pretty much doomed to never truly improve. So as well as explaining the concept to you, I also want to highlight 2 actionable steps that you can take so that you are truly improving and that you don't fall into this never-ending cycle that 99% of people find themselves in. When I first heard about this concept, I found it really interesting, so I thought I would just share it with you today. So the basic concept is as follows. We all have a ceiling and a floor, and our level of success fluctuates between these 2 levels. If we take weight loss, for example, we normally start a weight loss journey when we hit a point when we say, you know what, enough is enough, it's time to lose weight. This is when we hit the floor. We then really focus on losing weight and we do really well until either we give up or we begin to self-sabotage. And this is when we hit our ceiling. I'm sure you can relate to this. You're doing really well with a diet, you're starting to see the weight fall off, but then suddenly you start to get a bit looser with the calories, you start to exercise less, and before you know it, your progress slows down, you go back to your old ways, and you start to put weight back on again. Now, when I first heard about this concept, the way it was explained to me was that the ceiling is like an invisible barrier or an invisible line that deep down we believe we deserve. So that means that when we get close to this line, when we start to threaten this line, that's when we begin to self-sabotage to bring ourselves back down to this safe zone. But what happens then is that we give up, we go back to our old ways, we get worse and worse until suddenly we hit that enough is enough stage and we start to get back onto the diet. Now, I'm using weight loss as an example here because it's an easy one to understand, but this is just as relevant for making money, improving relationships, whatever it is. We fluctuate constantly between this floor and this ceiling, and most people spend their entire lives in this zone. Now, what this actually does is it gives us a false sense of achievement, right? So let's say you're progressing from your floor to your ceiling, and you see this as great progress. But this progress is only there because you let yourself get to that low point to begin with. It's not true progress. Does that make sense? So how can we break out of this never-ending cycle? Well, there are 2 ways. Firstly, you can raise your floor or you can raise your ceiling. But ideally, you do a combination of both. So first, how can we raise our floor? Well, we do this by raising our standards. If we raise our standards, we raise our floor. This means that we'll reach that enough is enough stage sooner than before. Now, Brendan Carter talks about standards and how to increase them. And he explains that rather than saying, I wish I was below 15% body fat, for example, he says, I refuse to be above 15% body fat. So tweaking the way that we talk about our goals and our tasks, this is a great way to increase our standards. Alternatively, you can break bad habits, you can install new good habits, but a really good way to increase your standards is just by educating yourself and truly understanding what is achievable. I found this great blog post online by IQ Matrix, which talks about why increasing your standards is so important for self-improvement. So I'll be sure to include a link to that blog post down below. So by increasing your standards, you will reach that enough is enough stage sooner than before. And this means that your average situation will improve, which is great. But this by itself will not lead to true improvement. It just means that you'll fluctuate less. Let's say instead that you raise your ceiling, but you don't focus on your floor. By raising your ceiling, what you're doing is you're extending the time until you start to self-sabotage and give up. Now, because the ceiling is linked to deep down what we think we deserve, the only way we can raise our ceiling is by adjusting what deep down we believe we deserve. And this is only achievable by putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions, putting ourselves out of our comfort zone, and proving to ourselves that this new level is no big issue, it's achievable. So if we go back to the weight loss example, let's say that generally you fluctuate between 17% body fat and 22% body fat. A way to put yourself out of your comfort zone is when you're getting close to that 17% body fat and you can feel yourself start to give up, that's when you double down and you push on to 16% body fat. What you've now done is you've now proved to yourself that 16% body fat is not a big issue. You've achieved it before, why could you not achieve it again? So you've raised your ceiling. You can think about raising your ceiling as putting yourself out of your comfort zone, and every time you go out of your comfort zone, you're pushing your ceiling up a little bit each time. Now, if you only raise your ceiling and you don't focus on the floor, what you're doing is you're basically increasing your safe zone. Now again, on average, your average situation will be better, which is great, but what it means is you'll just fluctuate a lot. You'll have these big hills and valleys. This is why a combination of the both is the best, because then not only are you increasing your average situation, you're also getting to a better point before you start to give up and self-sabotage. And it doesn't take you as long to hit that enough is enough stage and to jump back onto whatever rules you're following for that progress. Most people spend their entire lives here with this illusion of success. But if you can raise your floor, i.e. you raise your standards, and you can raise your ceiling, i.e. increase what you believe deep down you deserve, then you can shift your progress and you can actually make true progress rather than just temporary progress. And to me, that sounds pretty cool. Now, I hope that made sense. When I first heard about this, it was really interesting to me, so I thought I would share with you today. If you did find it interesting, then please consider subscribing to the channel for more self-improvement videos. Whatever you're working on right now, best of luck. It's been a pleasure. I will see you in the next video.